out and collect everybody's phone. So now it's just your word against a billionaire. You're gonna lose. Read this right there from that young man.
Sean Combs isn't going to prison for 30 months. He's getting a 30-month vacation while the real players rewrite the rules. Everyone assumed his arrest was the end, that the FBI raids and the grand jury indictments meant justice had finally caught up, until the sentence was slashed twice with no explanation. His release date was quietly moved up, and the only people celebrating were the ones who already knew how this game works. Now the leaks are spreading faster than his legal team can suppress them. His own documentarian has admitted the Netflix footage wasn't stolen. It was handed over by a third party as part of a cover-up. While Costco publicly denied ever selling the 10,000 bottles of baby oil seized from his homes, one question remains unanswered. Who supplied them, and what else were they mixing in? The math doesn't add up. A man facing life walks away with 2.5 years. His accusers get silenced with $5,000 checks. And the only footage that ever sees daylight comes from sources no one dares to name. This isn't a conviction. It's a signal. And the next move won't be in a courtroom. It'll be in the accounts of everyone who thought they were safe.
Out in front of this and, tried to persuade Netflix not to come forward with it. I think it's an interesting argument because what they're claiming is, Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, has had a long-standing, animosity against Diddy and sort of vice versa. And because he's at the helm, they're arguing this can't be taken seriously. This should sort of be seen as propaganda. And one of the things that Netflix hit back with was, yes, he's the executive producer. He doesn't necessarily have creative control. And that's something we...
The moment the FBI raided Sean Combs' properties in March of 2024, the narrative was already being controlled. Agents seized 10,000 bottles of baby oil, a stockpile so massive it defied basic logic, until his legal team claimed he simply bought in bulk from Costco. The problem is Costco immediately denied selling the product at all. That's when the story starts to bend. The official line was that this was about personal grooming, a lifestyle choice for a man known for hosting legendary gatherings. But the indictment filed 4 months later described something far more calculated, referring to these events as freak-off parties where attendees were allegedly given substances without their knowledge. The discrepancy isn't just about baby oil. It's about who gets to decide what the public is told. People close to the investigation say the raids weren't just about collecting evidence, but about sending a message to someone higher up the chain. And the fact that Combs' sentencing was reduced twice without public explanation only fuels suspicion that this was never meant to be real punishment. The 30-month sentence handed down in October for transportation charges, far less than the life term prosecutors initially sought, wasn't just lenient, it was strategic. Court documents show the jury convicted on lesser counts while acquitting on the more serious racketeering and trafficking allegations. A decision that stunned legal observers given the volume of testimony. What's being whispered now is that certain evidence never made it to trial, including recordings from the freak-off events that multiple sources claim exist but have never surfaced. The judge's unusual decision to move up Combs' release date twice, first to June 2028 and then to May 25th of that year, without any stated reason, has only deepened the sense that this case operates by different rules. Industry sources insist this isn't about justice, but about containment. The real question isn't why Combs got a lighter sentence, but who benefited from making sure he didn't talk.
To say because there's still such a big question mark in the air because, Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, is one of the executive producers on this series. Him, the director, Netflix in general is not saying where they got this footage, only that it was obtained legally. Diddy's side is saying this is coming from a videographer I hired. I know we'll get into the cease and desist. One of the arguments they make is, this is subject to NDAs or agreements that the videographer had signed with Diddy because he was, employed by Diddy.
Then there's the Netflix documentary The Reckoning, which dropped in December and immediately became a flashpoint. Combs' team called it a shameful hit piece built on stolen footage, filing cease and desist orders before its release. But here's where it stops making sense. His own documentarian, Michael Oberle, later admitted the controversial hotel room footage wasn't leaked by him or his authorized team, but by a third party covering for him during a 3-day absence. That's not a leak. That's a controlled detonation. The fact that 50 Cent, Combs' longtime rival, served as an executive producer only adds to the suspicion that this was never about truth, but about who gets to weaponize it. and the timing is impossible to ignore. The series premiered just as Combs' appeal was gaining traction, with his legal team arguing the trial judge acted as a 13th juror. The message seems clear. Someone wanted this story told, but only in a way that kept the focus on Combs alone. The most damning detail might be what's missing from the public record. While the documentary included scenes of Combs berating his legal team in a New York hotel room, the full unedited recordings have never been released. Sources connected to the production claim additional footage exists showing other high-profile figures at the freak-off events. But those segments were allegedly cut before release. This raises the uncomfortable possibility that the documentary wasn't an expose, but a limited hangout, a way to sacrifice one player while protecting others. The fact that Netflix has faced similar accusations before, including a 2022 lawsuit over allegedly stolen footage in their Orgasm Incorporated documentary, which they won in court, suggests they know exactly how to navigate these legal gray areas. What we're seeing isn't journalism, it's negotiation.
You had day 17 on the Diddy trial as the biggest one yet. Guess what? Bingo, you won, because today was probably the most eventful day as far as things that happened that were said on the stand, and most importantly, things that the judge said, because Diddy almost got kicked out of his own trial.
And then there's the appeal filed just before Christmas. The 84-page document doesn't just challenge the conviction, it rewrites Combs' image entirely, portraying him as an extraordinarily successful, self-made businessman and philanthropist while downplaying his admitted struggles with substance abuse and domestic conflict. The strategy is clear: reframe the narrative before the next phase begins. But the silence from his accusers is what lingers. Dozens of civil suits remain pending, yet none of the plaintiffs have spoken publicly since the sentencing. Legal observers note this isn't normal behavior for victims seeking justice. It's the behavior of people who've been given a reason to stay quiet. The question isn't whether Combs will serve his time, but what he might be trading to make sure he serves it in comfort. The baby oil wasn't the only thing seized during those raids. Investigators also confiscated multiple devices containing what sources describe as compromising material involving other entertainment figures. Yet none of that has surfaced in court filings or media reports. The FBI's public statements have been notably vague, referring only to evidence related to specific charges while avoiding any mention of broader implications. This selective transparency is what has industry insiders convinced there's more here than a single prosecution. The fact that Combs' legal team has been unusually aggressive in suppressing additional leaks, including threatening lawsuits against media outlets that attempted to publish details about the freak-off events, suggests they're not just protecting their client, but the system that keeps him relevant. What makes this different from a typical celebrity scandal is how the pieces refuse to fit together cleanly. The baby oil stockpile no major retailer admits to selling. The documentary footage allegedly stolen but conveniently excluding the most damaging material. The appeal that rewrites Combs' public image while his accusers remain silent. And most telling of all, the way his transfer to a low-security facility in New Jersey was handled with what sources describe as unusual haste, as if someone wanted to make sure he was placed somewhere specific. This isn't just about one man's legal trouble. It's about the machinery that decides who gets protected and who gets sacrificed. The real story isn't in the court documents or documentary clips, but in the spaces between them, where deals are made and narratives are controlled.
If the
In
judge,
October, right.
In October, October 3rd, if the judge denies bail, then Trump is going to make a decision possibly immediately thereafter.
Most likely, the judge is going to, based
I don't
on
know.
previous decisions, it feels like the judge is going to deny.
The most unsettling aspect of all this might be how little resistance there's been from the usual watchdogs. Major media outlets have treated the case as a closed chapter despite glaring inconsistencies. The entertainment press has focused on Combs' reduced sentence rather than the questions surrounding it. And the few journalists who have dug deeper have found their access suddenly limited. This isn't just silence, it's coordination. The message is clear. Some stories are meant to be told, and others are meant to be buried. The fact that Combs' legal team has begun hinting at additional lawsuits against Netflix and 50 Cent suggests they're preparing for the next phase of this battle. But the real fight isn't in the courtroom. It's in the shadows, where the rules are different and the stakes are much higher than one man's freedom. What comes next won't be another documentary or a tell-all interview. It'll be something quieter, more controlled. A settlement here, a retracted statement there, the slow disappearance of inconvenient evidence. The system that's protected Combs this far isn't going to abandon him now. But the cracks are showing. The baby oil that shouldn't exist. The footage that was supposedly stolen but conveniently excludes the worst moments. The appeal that rewrites history while accusers stay silent. These aren't loose ends. They're breadcrumbs. And they don't lead to Combs. They lead to the people who decided he was worth saving. The question isn't whether he'll serve his time. It's what he'll have to do to earn his way back in. And more importantly, who he'll have to take down to make it happen.
When I saw the final show, her comments were in there.
It was in there, but yours wasn't in there.
And mine weren't in there, so it just looked like I kind of took it.
Wow.
Like it was just quiet. And then
The pattern becomes clearer when you look at how Oprah Winfrey operates in the same circles. She didn't just ignore Harvey Weinstein's behavior. She actively participated in the system that protected him, giving him platform access and public validation for years while privately, according to Seal's 2021 social media posts, admitting she'd heard the rumors but done nothing. Then, when the scandal broke, she positioned herself as a moral authority, delivering that Golden Globe speech in 2018 that had half of Hollywood calling for her to run for president. The performance was flawless, right up until former associates started pointing out that she'd been photographed kissing Weinstein on the cheek at multiple events, that she'd never once used her platform to challenge him, and that her sudden outrage looked a lot like damage control. This isn't hypocrisy, it's strategy. The same woman who publicly shamed Dolly Parton for cosmetic procedures in a 2003 interview, pressing her on live television about tucks, pulls, and sucks, has spent decades carefully curating which scandals get airtime and which get buried. When Rose McGowan called her out in 2020 for being, as fake as they come, pointing to her past friendships with both Weinstein and Russell Simmons, the response wasn't denial. It was silence. That's how the machine works. Amplify the sins of your enemies. Erase your own. Tyler Perry's situation follows the same script, just with different staging. The lawsuits from Mario Rodriguez and Derek Dixon aren't just about misconduct. They're about a system where $5,000 checks function as both apology and insurance policy. Rodriguez's claim that Perry grabbed him inappropriately during what was supposed to be a career meeting, then handed him cash afterward with the words, "Let it happen," isn't just predatory behavior. It's a transaction. The fact that Perry's legal team immediately dismissed both cases as failed money grabs while quietly moving the Dixon lawsuit from California to Georgia courts suggests this isn't about justice, but about jurisdiction. Perry's empire isn't just built on Medea movies. It's built on the understanding that certain complaints can be relocated, delayed, or financially settled before they ever see a jury. The text messages Rodriguez claims to have, where Perry allegedly told him, "I did so much to help you," right before the lawsuit was filed, aren't just evidence. They're receipts. And the fact that Lionsgate, the studio behind his films, has been named in the suit for failing to enforce morality clauses tells you how deep the complicity goes. This isn't a scandal. It's a business model.
And he wanted some of that oval. He wanted some of that oval, that marshmallow. That's what he wanted. Because this actor was white. The actor alleges that Perry rubbed his thigh in bed, sent him charged messages, and once grabbed his throat, asking if he likes it rough in bed.
What connects these cases isn't just the behavior, it's the protection. Oprah's team never responded to Seal's accusations about Weinstein. Perry's lawyers didn't just deny the allegations, they reframed them as financial opportunism. And Combs' legal strategy has been less about proving innocence and more about controlling the narrative. From appeal documents painting him as a philanthropist to threats against Netflix for airing footage that, according to his own team, was obtained through a third-party cover-up. The language matters. These aren't denials, they're diversions. When 50 Cent accused Oprah of going after black men while ignoring Weinstein and Epstein, he wasn't just calling her a hypocrite. He was pointing out that her moral crusades have always had blind spots, and those blind spots tend to align with power. The same system that let Combs walk with a slap on the wrist is the one that let Oprah reinvent herself as a feminist icon while her old friends faced consequences. is not about race or gender. It's about who gets to decide what counts as a crime.
The stuff. Are you done with Hollywood because
no,
of this
I
specific
mean, I'm
reason?
still working. I still, I haven't made the money necessary to do all of the other stuff. So I still have to go and do the Chitlin circuit. I still have to do the job that I need to. But eventually, I've done what I set out to do, which was to redefine the universe. I've proven what I've set out to do, and that's why I have all the patents. Whether they evaluate it or not, that's...
The most revealing detail might be how these figures handle their critics. Oprah's team has never addressed the Weinstein photos or the John of God promotion, where she called a man now convicted of assaulting hundreds of women an inspiring healer on her show. Perry's response to the lawsuits has been to attack the accuser's credibility while his studio stays silent. And Combs' legal threats against Netflix aren't about privacy. They're about precedent. The message is consistent. Challenge the narrative and you'll be the one put on trial. When Katt Williams claimed on Shannon Sharpe's podcast that he turned down $50 million to avoid Combs' parties, the reaction wasn't shock. It was recognition. People in those circles knew exactly what he was talking about. The fact that Williams also predicted Combs would snitch on everybody if cornered suggests this isn't just about one man's legal troubles. It's about who else might be on those recordings and what they're willing to do to keep them buried. What makes this different from typical celebrity scandals is the coordination. The way Oprah's Weinstein silence aligns with her sudden moral authority. The way Perry's lawsuits get quietly relocated while his studio stays protected. The way Combs' appeal documents rewrite his image while his accusers stay silent. These aren't separate incidents. They're pieces of the same machine. When 50 Cent produced that Netflix documentary, he wasn't just exposing Combs. He was reminding everyone that the real power isn't in committing the sins, but in deciding who gets to talk about them. The fact that Combs' legal team has been so aggressive in suppressing additional leaks, even threatening lawsuits against outlets that tried to publish details about the freak-off events, tells you everything. This isn't about guilt or innocence. It's about control, and the people who have it aren't the ones in the headlines.
She
Walked away, got no money.
got nothing.
Over.
And Jay-Z celebrated that, the fact that...
We should say, and it was filed by the lawyer who has filed a slew of...
The real question isn't what Combs did, but who decided he was worth protecting when his sentence was reduced without explanation, when the baby oil stockpile led to a Costco denial that no one followed up on, and when his accusers went quiet after their initial statements. These aren't coincidences. They're calculations. The same system that let Oprah reinvent herself after John of God's convictions is the one that let Perry's lawsuits get quietly relocated. And the fact that Combs' appeal documents spend more time praising his philanthropy than addressing the charges tells you exactly what this is about. Not justice, but leverage. The people at the top don't just avoid consequences. They decide who faces them. That's why the next phase of this won't be another documentary or a tell-all interview. It'll be something quieter. A settlement here, a retracted statement there, the slow disappearance of inconvenient evidence. The system that protected them this far isn't going to abandon them now. But the cracks are showing. And the people who've been silent this long aren't staying that way because they're scared. They're staying silent because they've been paid to.
A shocked and devastated Diddy spotted at the home where his ex suddenly and mysteriously...
What comes next isn't about Combs or Oprah or Perry. It's about the people who've been watching this unfold and realizing they're not the audience. They're the product. The freak-off parties weren't just about indulgence. They were about information. The $5,000 checks weren't just hush money. They were membership fees. And the leaks that have surfaced so far aren't the real story. They're the distraction. The question isn't whether Combs will serve his time. It's what he'll have to give up to make sure he serves it in comfort. And more importantly, who's waiting to make sure he does.
I don't know this, but it just seems very suspicious when you go through and you look at in the history of different people that can make you go away if listen, I've worried about some of the things that I talk about on my show.
So here's where we leave it. Who decided Sean Combs was worth 30 months instead of life? Why does Oprah get to reinvent herself while her old allies face consequences? And how many $5,000 checks has Tyler Perry written that we don't know about? The comments are open. Tell us who you think is really running this. And more importantly, who's next on the list. because this isn't over. It's just getting started. Stay sharp.